If you are serving under a ministry with a vision, and then you have another vision, it's called division. Only monsters have two heads. You submit yourself to the vision of the house. And it is not being number one or number two that... See, you are either pursuing God's calling or pursuing success. Are you with me? When God calls you, if God says submit under a ministry, that is your what? Calling. If your esteem is not intact, you will give yourself a calling where there's no calling. Please be seated. I was pastoring in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, and I did that for some years. And I was more than sufficient. In fact, I insisted myself that one of the biggest sacrifices I've had to make is to leave the Redeemed Christian Church of God. So there was never a time that there was any ambition that we'll have a church. In fact, I used to tell our ministry that our people that if we ever become a church, leave. That's to tell you how much I didn't want to become. I don't envy pastors. I don't envy general overseers. Having 1,000 branches. Do you know what that means? Jesus had 12. Judas was there. So imagine 1,000 pastors. Do the maths. Are you following what I'm saying here? However, I was not disobedient to the heavenly vision. So you must understand. You have to get it right. 1 Corinthians chapter number 3. 1 Corinthians 3. So let's start the reading from verse 10. 1 Corinthians 3 from verse 10. Seeing what Paul says, are you there? According to the grace of God which is given unto me as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation, and another builded thereon. But let every man take heed how he builds thereon. And so Paul describes ministry. He used many metaphors to describe ministry, but here he describes ministry as a building, which makes the minister a builder. Is that simple enough? Uh-huh. Okay, so he said, as a wise master builder, I have laid the foundation. Okay? Another builded thereon, but let every man take it how he what? Builds. So it means a minister of God is first and foremost a what? But you know, if Paul was saying this in our generation, saying I'm a wise master builder, you probably will call Paul proud. Who is it to say he's a wise master builder? Only God can say that. Well, you're either a wise builder or a foolish builder. There's nothing in between. And he was saying what he was. Say, I'm a wise master builder. That is, I'm not building by guesswork. I'm not building by luck. I'm not building by circumstances. I am building something with a picture in mind. Now, look at it. Look at where Paul was talking from. 1 Timothy chapter number 3. All right, let's start reading from verse 1. I think I'm going specifically to verse 4, but let's start from verse 1. Look at it. This is a true saying. If a man desires the office of a bishop, he desires a good work, yes. A bishop must be what? Blameless. The husband of one wife, vigilant, sober, of good behavior, giving to hospitality, apt to teach. I'm going to come back to this apt to teach. It doesn't matter what dimension of calling you have. If you can't teach, you are not in ministry. Okay? You don't excuse ignorance with miracles. You don't excuse ignorance with tongues. You don't excuse ignorance with prophecy. You teach. A minister must be able to teach. All right? Not given to wine, no striker, not greedy or filthy lucre, but patient, not a brawler, nor covetous. Yes, verse 4 now. One that the ruleth well his own house, having his strength object with all gravity. Yes, continue. Quickly, we don't have time. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of God? Yes. Quickly. Not a novice. This verse 6. Not a what? Not a what? Uh-huh. So, I'm not sure that for the past how many years now, maybe just at home, if somebody, I can't, remember the last time I picked any book on anatomy, physiology, hematology, medical virology to pick anything to read. I can't remember the last time I did that. But there are things you can't take from me. It doesn't matter how many years I hold the mic. You can't take them from me. Because you've been trained. They've been wired into you. You spend night and day studying into them. They can't take them from you. It took years to get degrees on campus. It can't take you a vision to be an apostle. It can't take you a dream to be a prophet. It can't take you just one intuition to say you're a pastor. People are trained for this. Beyond the revelation, get the training. If not, you minister shame. Is that okay now? How do you get somebody to build you a house? And he said, this is my first attempt. And are you with me? You know, things are happening in this life. And the person is asking, which one again is the... Which? You know, you are not building a house, you are building a coffin. God will not entrust things to your hands and people to your hands more than the capacity you have built. He will not. Capacity is built for ministry. In fact, look at the way Paul also describes it in Ephesians 4. Ephesians 4, verse 1. Quickly. Ephesians 4, verse 1. I love the... look at the way Paul describes it. He said, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you that you walk worthy of the vocation wherewith you are what? Called. You walk worthy. Now, go back to that verse. Can you give me an amplified? Do you have other translations? If you do have amplified, I'd appreciate it. There are people who are doing ministry who don't know anything about ministry. How can somebody be in ministry for 10 years and can't describe ministry? Can't define ministry? One of my boys met a guy. Look at it. I, therefore, the prisoner for the Lord, appeal to you and beg you to walk, lead a life worthy of the divine calling, which you have been called with behavior that is a credit to the summons of God, to the summons to God's service. He used the word vocation to describe ministry. Not as a way to reduce ministry, but to tell you that ministry is work. Okay? One of my... God, should I even... Okay, let me just share a few things. One of my boys met somebody who came to meet him. I'm sure you must have met people like this at some point in your life or ministry, or in case if you are somebody like this is God's divine opportunity for you to know that you are doing something wrong. And the man came to meet him, was trekking, looking tattered. And the man said to him, he said, God has given him a vision to move from cities to cities to pray for nations. And the man said he's been doing that since 1996. All right? The idea of that thing is that can God call a man to do that? Yes. But there's no structure, no pattern. He resigned from his job and just moved from one place to other. Before you know, you move from being an intercessor to being a sordid prophet, from that to adding begging to the skills of ministry. Because anything that has no structure has no future. It is structure that bears witness to the fact that future will come to what you are doing. When God speaks, don't run. Ask how to do it. Ask how it is done. Speed in a wrong direction is not speed. Ask. Is that okay now? Pause and what? Ask. How is this done? How can I go about this? It's a vocation. It's a vocation. And there's a need for a lot of learning. It's a vocation. Tell your neighbor, ministry is a vocation. Yeah. By the way, as a way of making sure we ensure balance. The qualification for ministry is mercy. You did not do anything to earn the call of God. He entrusted it to your hands. So you must always reach out to find mercy to fulfill it. 2 Corinthians 4 from verse 1. 2 Corinthians 4:1. Seeing therefore we have this ministry. All right. Go back to King James, please. Therefore, seeing we have this ministry, as we have received what? Mercy. We do what? Faint not. But we have renounced the hidden things of what? Dishonesty, not walking in craftiness, or handling God's word deceitfully. But by the maturing of truth, we commend ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of God. So what qualified you for this work is what? Mercy. Out that not many wise were called, not many nobles were called. God used the foolish things of this world to confound the what? Wise. So let's reach our hands and say, Father, thank you for mercy. Amen. Now, put your hands down. One thing, I'm going to stay on one thing today. Let me stay on one thing. If ministry is described as a building by Paul, it means we have to pay attention to what David said in Psalms 11:3. Give us Psalms 11:3. I'm giving scriptures because sometimes pastors, we can have the assumption that people understand without scriptures. Can we read this together? 1, 2, 3, go. If the foundation be destroyed, what can the righteous do? That's a very strong question. Okay? So if ministry is a building, it doesn't matter what your intentions are and how much you have to build. If you get the foundation wrong, you'll stop at some point. How do I help you now? If you intend to build a 40-story building, 40. But the foundation you have laid can only carry a bungalow. Any attempt to go beyond the bungalow is digging your own grave. So it means that if you intend to go far, pay attention to foundation now. Your foundation can arrest your zeal, and it doesn't matter how powerful it is, you have to stop. So while this may look like a general statement, let me help narrow down to what foundation really is that you have to get right in ministry. Is that okay? Are you still with me? Yes, sir. All right. When Paul was speaking about his calling, he said something that is so profound. He said, I was not disobedient to the heavenly vision. So, your calling or the knowledge of your calling can come in different ways. It could be, God can show you a vision. It could be with a knowing in your heart, an impression. God, you can't box God to a corner touching how he must speak. He chooses to speak the way he wants to. He's king. In fact, he's not just king, he's the king of kings. Is that okay now? So, ministry doesn't start with impressions. It starts with visions. And that vision doesn't mean that you are necessarily going to see one angel descend from heaven and then say, what do you say they used to call it? Chinedu Poku. You see, you suffer my hands. I will not forget. That's one thing. I'll go back and replay the video and hear it again. So when next I'm invited, I say, I want to invite Pastor Apostle Chinedu Poku. And this one is one Chinedu Poku. Am I getting it right? Oh, God help me. It is not whether your own vision was in 3D, HD, or 5D that determines whether you do well in ministry. You can see 50 billion angels and still fail. Are you following what I'm saying? You can see the heavens steer into two and Jesus himself coming and pour keg of palm oil on your head and still fail. He can't help you beyond the degree to which you take yourself serious. He sent a message to Eli. He said, tell Eli. He said, I have chosen before that you and your fathers have to be priests before me forever. He said, but now I've changed my mind. He said, far be it from me. He said, because they that honor me, I will honor. They that despise me, I will lightly what? Esteem. That's what he said. He said, I will lightly esteem them. He said, no. If you don't take yourself serious, nothing will take you serious. So you must understand. You must fight for it. Is somebody following what I'm saying? So, however, one of the letters of Paul, he said, say to Archippus that see to it that you fulfill the ministry that has been committed to your hands. Listen, though. Vision, as far as ministry is concerned, is not necessarily what you saw in your dream. Vision is, the vision of your ministry is the purpose for which the ministry has been set out. The purpose for which the ministry has been what? Set out. Why? Your vision is what explains the reason why God is calling you. And let me also give you this, because there's a common mistake. If you are an associate pastor, you can't have a vision. The vision of the house is your vision. Our vision in our ministry is to go and raise God's end time armies. We also use the word vision for the word mandate. Okay? So this is one of our pastors. He pastors Port Harcourt Church. That vision is his vision. It is already error. Can I teach? If you are serving under a ministry with a vision, and then you have another vision, it's called division. Only monsters have two heads. You submit yourself to the vision of the house. And it is not being number one or number two that see, you are either pursuing God's calling or pursuing success. Are you with me? When God calls you, if God says submit under a ministry, that is your what? Calling. If your esteem is not intact, you will give yourself a calling where there's no calling. Please be seated. I was pastoring in the Redeemed Christian Church of God, and I did that for some years. And I was more than sufficient. In fact, I insisted myself that one of the biggest sacrifices I've had to make is to leave the Redeemed Christian Church of God. So there was never a time that there was any ambition that we'll have a church. In fact, I used to tell our ministry that our people that if we ever become a church, leave. That's to tell you how much I didn't want to become. I don't envy pastors. I don't envy general overseers. Having 1,000 branches. Do you know what that means? Jesus had 12. Judas was there. So imagine 1,000 pastors. Do the maths. Are you following what I'm saying here? However, I was not disobedient to the heavenly vision. So you must understand. You have to get it right. Okay, let me push. Listen to this. The moment you get the mandate wrong, everything you will do as far as that ministry is concerned will be wrong. Everything. Everything you will do will be wrong. And I'll tell you why. The vision of the ministry God is giving to you is the purpose statement of the ministry. That if the purpose is wrong, you will abuse it. That's the reason why God is called. And I hear people, see, listen to what I'm saying. While you are seated here, if you are around the ministry, if you know that the vision is not clear, I'm not saying you should go and stop the ministry. I'm saying you should pause. Don't use arrogance to push a life that there's no future. See, so I tell you, what's the vision of your ministry? What's the mandate of ministry? It's not clear. They say God has said I should. Number one, your mandate can be general. It is specific. God has said I should go and raise Christians everywhere who are doing well. With the way the person is talking, you know he doesn't know what he's saying. It doesn't mean he doesn't have a calling. But he is not patient to hear. Are you following what I'm saying? Don't listen to when you stand before people who know these things, humble yourself. Don't use your energy to say, but I know what God said. You don't know. So I hear people say, my mandate is to, and then you discover that there's no finger of God in it. Because God will not back up what he didn't call. He won't. So my mandate is to go and raise believers everywhere who are happy and doing life well. My mandate is to go and raise Christians everywhere who are doing well on different mountains. Which mountains? Kilimanjaro. Specific. Are you with me? First, you know you have a calling before you know what the calling is. And understand that purpose becomes clearer with time and exposure. So, if you ask me what my understanding of going to raise end time armies is 10 years ago, and what my understanding of it is now, the distance or the difference is clear. Because as you mature, it becomes clearer. Don't think all you know is all there is. This thing becomes clearer with time. Is that okay now? So you must be clear. So vision is what lays the foundation for the ministry.
Hello, thank you for watching the video, and I hope it was a great asset to you. And I hope it was also very useful time. If you haven't commented, if you haven't liked, please do that. And for more videos, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more videos. God bless you.